dois, teste som, testando. E a senhora me ouve bem? Esse está melhor para a senhora? Tá ou não tá? Oi? Por isso que eu não vou prometer para a senhora, tá?
Entendi. Sem problema. Mas esse tá mais ajustadinho na minha orelha, pelo menos.
Então tá. Qual a graça da senhora mesmo que eu esqueci?
Ah, não.
Da Nari.
Aí, muito obrigada, Ari.
Então, eu vou mandar no zap aqui para ele, se caso ele conseguir. É porque tá uma demanda danada de evento em outros locais.
Eu sei.
Entendeu? Tá bom?
Obrigada.
Nada.
Hi everyone, welcome to the session, Sustainable, Healthy and Just Procurement for People and Planet. And I see the slides are not the right ones. So I will introduce the session to you and we will try to get the right slide back up. So we're ready to start after my introduction. So my name is Emily Norford. I am from EAT. And we're really happy to be here today. Huge thanks to the Milan Pact Secretariat and the City of Rio for organizing this global forum. And also thank you to the speakers and the audience for traveling, many of you very far, to be here today. We're also really lucky to have both Milan and Rio in today's panel. And in this session, we'll be exploring how cities around the world are using public procurement to improve health, sustainability, and equity. Before we get into the topic, I'll give a really brief introduction to the co-organizers. This session was developed by EAT and Food Trails. We did have a couple of slides, but you can see them later. Food Trails is an EU Horizon 2020 project led by the City of Milan. It brings together 11 diverse cities from Europe who are working together to co-create pilot projects and activities and develop food policies in their cities. Several members of the Food Trails project are here today as panelists, including Milan, Copenhagen, and Birmingham. And then EAT, the other co-organizer, is a global nonprofit based in Oslo, Norway. We're working to transform the global food system, and we are also a member of the Food Trails project. We put together the Eat Lancet Commission report, which in 2019 was published, and it sets forth boundaries for healthy diets from sustainable food production systems. So we're learning what a healthy and sustainable diet is, but how can we help everyone eat this way? One approach is through public procurement, which means the food that city governments purchase for public meals, like in school canteens, elderly care homes, and other municipal facilities. So our panelists today will share examples of how their cities are purchasing food in a way that contributes to the kind of food future we all want. And now I'll introduce our moderator, me and procurement. Introduce our moderator, David Hertz. He is a chef and a social entrepreneur who believes that together we can feed humanity with humanity. And I'll pass the word along to David to briefly talk about his work and get the panel started. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Emily, thank you, Claire, who's out there. First, welcome everyone, welcome. I would like to call our panelists here on stage so we can start going. So I would like to call Andrea from Milan, Diana from Guadalajara, an amazing city, Joseph from Daegu, Aline do Rio de Janeiro, representing our country, Kate from New York, Bettina from Copenhagen, and Sarah from Birmingham. So thank you so much for coming here. I'm very curious for this panel because I come from civil society 16 years ago. Actually, I started a nonprofit called Gastromotiva to bring opportunities to the people most in need to work in the hospitality system. We train more than 7,000 people around Brazil, Mexico City, South Africa, El Salvador, to become cooks, kitchen assistants, but also food entrepreneurs, from the ones that come from very low income communities. But in 2015, I went to Milan, and I met Massimo Bottura, and he created Refettorio Ambrosiano to be the legacy of the Expo Milano. And I was thinking since 2012, what's going to be the legacy that I will bring to the Rio Olympics? And I got the click that that was the project. So we partnered with Massimo Bottura. We created Refettorio Gastromotiva, where tomorrow we're gonna have the lunch for all the mayors to close in session. And this is very symbolic because this is one, Aline, of the few legacies from the Olympics. And this city has been, I think, trying to find its way since that time, with so many problems. So it's going to be very beautiful to know what's been happening good in the city. But when we talk about procurement, I think there are so many layers to get those things done. And I think this is what we are eager to learn. What are the best practices? What are the challenges? So I want to welcome you to bring us all you know. And I'm also want to know and encourage that you talk to one another when you learn something. Because I really believe that what's going to change the world to a more circular economy, to a more sustainable and solidarity economy is to collaborate. So thank you all for coming here. And I'm going to start with you, Andrea. And you come from Milan, and I think you work with the food policy, you are the coordinator for the you are the Milan's food policy coordinator in the mayor's office and the chair of the Eurocities working group. Can you tell us more about the Milan's experience and how Milan has used the public procurement to improve sustainability, health, and equity outcomes? Please, it's with you.
Thank you. Thank you indeed for organize this session. And I want to explore the layer of equity. That is one of the three that you mentioned in the introduction. Also connecting to one of the European policies that I think is less known, but also very, very linked to all of this topic. That is the European Child Guarantee. It's a new strategy prepared in the last 3 years that have within the pillar the healthy nutrition and the possibility to have at least one healthy meals in each school days for the people in need, for the children in need. And based on this strategy that is necessary to break the circle of poverty, of issues, of a just society, was done a very important feasibility study all around European countries that divide the different countries in 4 groups that here you can see. So countries where school meals are a universal access, some other in which there are targeted free meals, others in which are subsidies, and others in which there are no provision. And so in this feasibility study, one of the main important issues is to try how much budget we need to have to allow in all the European countries access to as a universal service. In Italy, for instance, it's just about 1.7 billion to have this kind of approach. And so based on this, we try to see what we can do in Italy, in different different Italian cities. And so we perceive, we know that in some cities there are canteens, and so the children can have access to the canteens, but in some other there aren't canteens. And so here you can see about 25 Italian cities, and the majority in the southern of Italy there aren't canteens. So Palermo, the capital of Sicily, Catania, Taranto, and so on. And on the other side, in the northern cities like Milan, Turin, also Rome, and so on, we are about 99%. So this is why, this is because in Italy, the access of the school canteens is just to a demand for the family. So it's not a public service that the country and all the other institutional level need to have within the different institutional structure. And so based on this was also done a very good research on the nexus within early school living and the presence of school canteens. So in the third column, you can see, in the first column, you can see the percentage of children that doesn't can be access to the school canteens. In the second column, the percentage of early school leavers, and in the third columns, the percentage of classes without the afternoon. And so it's clear the relation between these activities. So in the cities, in the country, in the region in which there are school canteens, there are more probability that at the end there are early school, and early school is one of the circle in the first slide. So speaking about food, we come back to other topic. And this is the framework of the school canteens in Milan. We have about 600 of canteens from kindergartens to preschool, elementary and secondary school managed by the municipality. Is a municipal agency named Milano Ristorazione in which we control all the supply chains from cooking center, from kitchen to the canteens. But the important topic that I want to show you is the cost of this service, that is about 79 million euro per year, on which 61% is covered by the municipality and 39% is covered by the family. Sorry. Yeah, it's the last one. It's the last one. We divide the participation of the family from a threshold in which there are no need to pay, up to a total in which they are pay about 680 euro per year. So very, very low participation. Because the municipality and the majority of Italian municipality are thinking that school canteens are a powerful tool to have the possibility for a good future for the children. So procurement is another side to see procurement, speaking about the cost of service, the percentage which you can cover, and it's very important try also to see the comparison within other cities, other countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So from canteens, we're going to hear about daycares. So Diana Vargas from Guadalajara Municipality in Mexico is the General Director of the Sistema DIF Guadalajara, a public institution of welfare and social assistance of the municipality. Diana will tell us about a program to give healthy breakfast to children in the municipality's daycare center, from 6 months to 6-year-olds.
Thank you. Voy a exponer en español. Espero no haya problema. Más fluido. ¿Cuáles son las políticas que hemos llevado a cabo durante este último año que prácticamente termina la pandemia en Guadalajara, que es la segunda ciudad más grande de México, después de Ciudad de México? Y lo que hemos trabajado es con la alimentación a través de la dieta planetaria, es decir, un consumo de 50% verduras y frutas, el resto con una variedad de granos enteros.
Diana, can you just give us 1 minute to... Is it okay with the translation? Can you get? Alguém está usando na arquibancada? Não? Desculpa, mas acho que é bem importante os palestrantes ouvirem. So maybe, can you understand English?
Yeah.
So maybe we go to Daegu and then we go back to you.
Okay.
Are you going to speak in English? Yeah? Okay. So Joseph, we're very lucky to have someone from Asia here. And if I'm speaking right, it's Daegu. So this year at the Global Forum with us, Joseph from South Korea, he's the head of the fisheries team in Daegu, Agriculture and Fishery Wholesale Market Management Office. Daegu tell us about a program that provides primary school students with healthy and fresh fruits produced locally. Okay. We wait. Shanti, Shanti. I can speak English, but I don't speak Spanish. Portuñol. Bom, enquanto a gente espera, as pessoas que estão aqui conosco, a maioria são brasileiros? Sim? Foi muito interessante, porque quando chegou esse tópico, and I'm sharing that when this topic comes to us, procurement, for me it was kind of like a new word. So we went, and that's why I asked for what is procurement, especially in Brazil, like we're talking on nowadays on how to keep all the procurement still going and advancing, not going backwards. And we're very interested to understand this, and this is so important that we keep reinforcing all the procurements. And what I want to share to the whole with everyone that is here is I think how important that we have in the municipality where everything happens, especially when we talk about daycare schools, because nowadays we created so much policies in Brazil. We have one of the best guidelines in order to make procurement work. And we are seeing that many of that needs to be reinforced from civil society. So what I wanted to stress is how important this session is. Quanto é importante essa sessão no Brasil hoje. Bom, vocês me ajudam do WIT Forum. Who? Okay, so we're gonna go back to you, Joseph.
Thank you. I'm Joseph, coming from Daegu in Korea, and I share the fruit snack for the daycare program at primary school. The obesity rate of Korean children is steadily increasing, and obesity is caused by imbalance in diet and poor eating habits. And childhood obesity can cause disease such as diabetes and high blood pressure, inferiority, and depression, which increases the socioeconomic costs. And consumption of domestic fruits has decreased, and fruit farmers are worried about the market. In consideration of these socioeconomic problems and their farming aspects, Daegu City has increased a fruit snack as a card for children to form healthy eating habits and to encourage consumption of local seasonal fruits. And the daycare class is organized by Ministry of Education. And this program, the daycare class program, take care of students until 1 to 5 p.m. who are not able to return home immediately after regular classes in primary schools. And they were selected, the selected business operators from among announced processing companies. The selected company must provide eco-friendly or GAP certified the fruits, and several more kinds of fruits must be provided during the business period, and some fruit cannot be provided 3 times in a row. And all process should be taken by HACCP certified facilities, and all processing from washing to distribution and consumption should take place within 36 hours. This is processed in details: the warehousing inspection, cleaning, UV sterilization, the automatic cutting, packaging, and the last finals, the product is should be in the container. But the company must use the biodegradable, eco-friendly materials for the package. And the fruits must provided twice a week, and each cup contains around 150 grams. In 2021, 228 schools participated in this program, and around $46 million was provided. You see that compared to the 2020, in 2021, the consumption of the fruits has increased. And students who rarely eat here, students who rarely fruit ate a little bit in 2021 in this table. As a result, most parents and teachers are positive about expanding this business further. So I believe that this program contributed to the sustainable growth of fruit industry and the growth of related industries such as that has HACCP certification. And it helps students grow into healthy adults by improving their eating habits. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. It's very inspiring, especially with the packaging and how the fruits are served. Congratulations. It's very inspiring. I'm really sorry, Aline. Desculpe. Let's try. Is it working? Okay. So, Diana, we go back to you. Volvemos a ti. Gracias.
Muito bem, volto a falar. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk to you now again. Guadalajara is the second biggest or largest city in Mexico, and we have many important urban challenges. And part of what we're doing here is changing or performing changes in the eating habits of children from 0 to 6 years of age. So we're adopting a new type of diet for children of this age. Last year, we had the opportunity to work with children, having them eating at least 50% of healthier foods, fruits, and less animal protein. This is one of our strategies. We also develop and foster urban gardens as a pedagogical tool so that families are invited to be part of this project. And a part of the food that is grown there is used for the family needs of those families. So families in need and people in vulnerability are able to benefit also from these measures. We have also a program of soup kitchens, community kitchens that are well spread in Guadalajara. 5% of the population in the metropolitan area of Guadalajara is in situation of vulnerability and can be beneficiary of soup kitchens. Soup kitchens foster a better consumption of healthier foods in families. As you know, in Mexico, we have many chronic diseases, diabetes, obesity. And obesity has to do, of course, also with issues of mental health. So I brought to you some pictures of what we do in Guadalajara. And part of the work that we do is based on rights empowerment for children and youth. So we understand that food is a right, and we try to pass this on to them. Last year, and we hope to keep on doing this in the future, everything that we did last year has to do with this idea of food as a right. So soup kitchens and care centers for children and for youth where they can eat properly. Here you have some figures of what we did in 2021. We were amidst a pandemic, and over 2 million lunch boxes were food ratios were delivered for people. Over 33 tons of animal protein was served. And we have another project which is called Laboratório de Alimentação, Food Lab. The idea is to develop food systems based on gender. So we try to reach out to women, bring their problems and issues in, and try to connect those problems to solutions in the realm of food. This helps to foster local identities and leads to better practices, better local practices. These centers are called Las Comenas, and this is what we do in Guadalajara. Thank you very much. It is wonderful to see those figures and also those pictures, since Mexico, as in Brazil, we have also in Brazil high rates of obesity and those types of diseases. So it's interesting to see your experiences.
Municipal Institute of Sanitary Surveillance, Zoonotic Surveillance, and Agriculture Inspection of Rio de Janeiro. But what I was most interested in talking to Aline is her work in regularization of small businesses in family farms. Com você, Aline.
Boa tarde a todos. Eu vim hoje apresentar dos programas que são...
I am here to talk to you a little bit about animal zoning and the unit of food and nutrition. We are a technical body, and we're responsible for food and nutrition in the City Hall of Rio de Janeiro. I'm sorry, let me see my slide. I cannot find my presentation, she says. Are the slides of Aline there? Perhaps, Aline, you can keep on talking, and we will be able to show your slides in a timely manner. So I would like to talk about our public food procurement and the program of school feeding in Rio de Janeiro. It's one of the biggest in the world, and the idea is to tackle public schools, and the objective is to guarantee access to healthy food within the school realm. The idea is to promote health among those youngsters and children. So we aim at offering healthy food, balanced under the perspective of nutrition, and also just, so for all school children in the city of Rio. We understand that food is a human right, and the state has the duty of guaranteeing healthy food to all of its citizens through public policies. And one of the public policies that are used is the National Program for School Feeding. In this program, we abide by a legal framework that says that 30% of the funding for school feeding has to go to the procurement of the products of small farmers. And we had a bit of a problem there, because although we understand this is important, that we have farmers in our rural areas, this legal framework has been revised because we have not access to those rural farmers. So our procurements are based on 40% of food that is purchased. And the idea is to try to purchase those products from small farmers. Today, we are able to buy 40% of products from small farmers, but this procurement is not done based on the products that are produced in Rio de Janeiro. We buy those products from other areas of the municipality. Now, what is the policy that we're putting forward? We're trying to implement sanitary inspection within the city hall, because we're trying to formalize the small agri-industry so that those farmers produce or can sell their products formally, not informally. So we're aiming at social inclusion, and we are trying to bring rural farmers to us to raise their legitimacy so that they can work and sell their products.
The goal, but you have the challenge to buy local. That's incredible. And I don't know if everyone here knows Rio de Janeiro has the largest urban forest in the world. And there are many, many small farmers that were there before the parks became parks, national city parks. And the challenge is to help them to stay there, do their production, and become legal with all their services. It's very interesting. It's a big challenge, but it's a city challenge. So now I think we can start listening when we put the Agenda 2030 forward and we look what we can be done now. So Kate, this year New York City has joined the Good Food Cities Declaration, committing to align food procurement policies to the planetary health diet by 2030. Kate is the Executive Director of the New York City Mayor's Office of Food Policy and advises the mayor on all issues related to food policy and the city's food system. Can you share with us the big challenge?
Sure, thank you. And it's really a pleasure to be here and find points of connection with all of these global cities. I want to actually start with our first efforts around procurement, which were grounded in establishing food standards for all, food and nutrition standards for all meals in New York City. And that actually started years ago, in 2008 actually. And under Mayor Adams, we reissued those food standards in April of this year. And I just want to highlight a little bit of what those standards are about. And so perhaps last night when I was speaking, we have a much larger procurement portfolio now, which addresses a number of different values, but I want to really focus in on the health and nutrition for a few reasons. One, we're very proud to be a signatory of the Planetary Health Diet, but also I noticed in our North American and in our regional readout, there was some concern about making progress in health and nutrition. And so I really we're very proud of these. And then once again, these are for certainly all of our schools, all of the students attending school in New York City, but also our homeless shelters, our older adult centers, anywhere that the city is serving meals through our public agencies. So here are a few of the updates to our food standards. And just keep in mind that any vendor that is doing business with the City of New York must adhere to these standards. And so this was the precedent that was set that enabled us to take the path forward to go farther into thinking about the goals around food and climate by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and furthermore. So some of the updates include that we have a new added sugar limit requiring less than 10% of calories served come from added sugars. We also have lower daily sodium.
Nós também temos limites de sódio cada vez mais baixos, principalmente para jovens. Nós temos um novo requisito para metade de todos os vegetais e legumes que eles devem ser integrais e a gente tem uma nova exigência e isso vem dessa dieta planetária, um novo requisito para oferecer proteínas vegetais integrais ou minimamente processadas. Comparado com isso, em contraste com isso, a gente tem um teto para carne bovina e processada. Então, a gente definiu, mais uma vez, mínimos para o número de proteínas vindas de vegetais e, ao mesmo tempo, a gente está limitando a quantidade. Em 2025, a gente vai eliminar toda a carne processada. Nós temos uma nova exigência aqui, um novo requisito para as agências. Isso também é uma novidade, pensando na equidade. A gente quer o feedback dos clientes e as preferências culturais em relação ao sabor e qualidade dos alimentos. Então, cada agência deve anualmente fazer uma consulta dos seus participantes sobre a qualidade das refeições. E, além disso, um ponto importante aqui é que nós estamos integrando nutrição, ou novas normas de nutrição e sustentabilidade para fortalecer essa saúde individual planetária para alinhar melhor com as nossas estruturas de compra de alimentos. Isso é uma coisa, mais uma vez, que agora, além de como isso é estabelecido, o nosso departamento de saúde, na verdade, isso é uma coisa que é feita da noite para o dia, tá? Tem alguns anos de pesquisa envolvidos aí, examinando e analisando o que está acontecendo na ciência e a evolução disso, mas tem muito tempo também das agências gasto aqui falando com seus fornecedores, com a sua cadeia de suprimentos, para
yogurts in our schools. However, there wasn't a yogurt that was available in the marketplace that did not have, that it was too full of sugar. So we were able to create, and because we are in New York and we have such a market share, people will be able to create a product specifically for us. And then other cities can also benefit from that. So that's just an example of how we have a market power to be able to drive the systems changes for a healthier food supply. One other thing I will mention is in the vein of requiring student feedback, where we are doing a large, high volume of cooking in schools, every food product, whether it is a recipe or whether it is a new sauce or whether it is a new yogurt, must be taste tested by students. And it must meet at least a 75% approval rate before it gets menued. And if something doesn't, we take it never makes it onto the menu. We go back to the manufacturers or to the suppliers, give them that feedback, and also then the students in particular. And I think about this because I have young kids too, and you can't just say you don't like it, right? You got to say, like, what is it that you don't like? Is it that it's too salty? Is it too sweet? So really developing the vocabulary of food and preferences amongst our populations. So that's just a little bit that I wanted to, talk about specifically health, how we're driving health improvements and preventing some of the crises of diet-related diseases by driving procurement changes with a health focus.
Thank you. And getting that that human-centered approach on the kids, on the taste, on the not only a healthy diet, but delicious diet. It needs to be tasted and accepted. Yes. And we need to, as a chef, it touches me a lot because we have to transform what we give and the families, how much they can offer fresh food and a good food in a good way that children must eat them, wants to eat them. So let's go now to Copenhagen. And Bettina is a Chief Procurement Officer at the City of Copenhagen since 2009, the chair of the National Food Procurement Network since 2017, a higher advisor to the EU, WHO, and FAO since 2021, and the UN Food Systems Summit champion. Bettina, please tell us about your work as a procurement officer.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. I'm excited and also to let you into the procurement officer world, because now we heard about politics and how the high targets are set, and I'm so thrilled to be working in the municipality of Copenhagen, because we also have politicians who have high goals of what they want to achieve. Would you take the time for me, because I can keep it from here, hopefully.
Yes,
Thank you. And then in Copenhagen, we have a target of 90% organic meals. We cook mainly on site from most raw materials. So the chefs are hired by the municipality of Copenhagen. We deliver in 900 places and we have 1,100 kitchen chefs approximately. So this is just to give you some numbers of how large this is. I'm the category manager for the food category in Copenhagen, and also a procurement officer, and the one who's also helping following up on the contract, so the contract management for food. In Copenhagen, we have a lot of political goals, not just the 90% target. We also have the goals of following the Sustainable Development Goals and many, many others. I'll show you here, because that could be me sometimes, standing alone, looking at all the political goals that are there that we need to follow and that we need to achieve. Being a procurement officer can be a lonely role, but it could also be the key to implement the political goals. So that's why it's important that, we combine these and they are implemented, like you said. So the goals of New York, for example, about the sugar and in what do you call it? The sodium, yeah, and yogurt. Yes, that was the word I was searching for. Thank you. It needs to reach the procurement officer's desk because otherwise you will not be able to buy it. So, to bring the policy into life, we need more. We also need to talk with the kitchen staff. We educate the kitchen staff in how to cook differently. So the money that are not invested in more money on the budget to buy more food, it's invested in kitchen staff to cook differently, to keep more sustainable and more healthy. So we have the high political ambitions, like I told you. They are implemented through public procurement, and we follow up. We make sure that they are implemented. We have statistics, and it is so that we can tell the politicians, look what we are doing through public procurement. We are actually achieving the goals that you are setting. So when I did the last procurement, we have just new dietary guidelines. They tell us to eat a lot differently than we are doing right now. We eat so much more meat than we should, so we have to reduce this during the next couple of years. I think it's 2025, so we are in a hurry, and we are teaching the chefs to try to do differently, because we almost reached the 90% organic within budget. We have 85%, I think, now in all our public meals across the municipality. So that is good. And to do this, we actually created this climate weight on all our goods. We said that the more healthy food should get a higher, more positive weight into our procurement, so that it fills more into the evaluation, the technical details on how to do procurement. And it can be hard standing alone, looking at the mountain, figuring out how to do this, because I'm also hired in the budget department, so I also have to cut back budget, because that's what procurement officers also do, to have more money to play with. So to do this, we really need to think it. Yeah, and I'm so almost there. Technical material. We created like this guideline for procurement officers. It's by the WHO, and you will get it in the slides, so you can share it with your procurement officers. And we are building a network where we can walk together, because, as you said, I'm the chairman of the National Procurement Officer Network, but we are also building a European Procurement Officer Network. And we're talking with the FAO. We have an event next week, actually, where we are talking about maybe we should build like a regional network for each region, one for Europe, one for Asia, one for, yeah, all the regions, so we can walk together. Thank you. And in Best Remap, we're building this procurement officer network and linking it with food trails, so everything goes together. Thank you.
Muitíssimo obrigado, muito inspiradora a sua experiência, principalmente do ponto de vista de cozinheiro como eu.
I brought some ministers and secretaries from the European Environmental Agency to one of these farms here that I just mentioned. And it's incredible how cooking food became so much important for all the Danish people, to the people from Denmark, and how the chefs has been also pushing this a lot with the agencies and with you, and congratulations. So now we go to our last speaker, but we have lots to share. And Sarah leads the food system team in the public health division at the Birmingham City Council. So let's share.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much, everybody, for coming here today as well. And I think what's really great about this event and this panel as well is we all come from so many different perspectives, tackling problems from different angles. So within Birmingham, our approach is very much looking at the whole food system and addressing where the challenges are that we face and how we can create joined up solutions that solve lots of challenges at the same time. So procurement is one of the challenges that we face. And the perspective that I bring is my background's behavioural science, which isn't very common within food systems as being where you're coming from, but it's been incredibly helpful. So I thought today I'd share the one model that I think it can benefit you, whether you're looking at procurement or any issue at all. But this is a behavioural science model called the COM-B model. And the concept is that there is literally not one single behaviour that you can get somebody to do unless they're capable of doing it, if they've got the opportunity to do it, and if they're motivated to do it. If any of those are missing, it just will not happen. The other thing you can do with this model as well, there's documents and resources online that you can find. It's really useful to help you do explorations into the challenges that your cities face and work out what is the barrier and what are the facilitators that help you. And then once you know where the problem is and where that challenge is, it's much easier to come up with a tailored solution. Excuse me. So with regards to procurement, we've used this model to look at where the challenges are. And within capability, that's things like skills and knowledge. And one of the challenges we found is that the people who we are expecting to procure food differently don't know what the food is that they're supposed to be getting. They don't know what sustainable food is. They don't know what's sourced locally. They don't know what grows, what's seasonal. You go to the supermarket, the food's there. All they know is that prices vary over time, maybe, but they don't know what the food is that they're supposed to be buying. So actually, one really simple solution to that was we've started reviewing marks and standards and labels that you get on packages, and not just for sustainability, but for ethical work practices, if people have real living wage, if they source food well, if it's healthy and nutritious. And we realized that we need to bring everybody up to the same level of understanding with those sorts of solutions before we can start pushing up that standard in the market. The other side as well is mapping what's grown locally and raising more awareness of this across central England is what's available, and on different seasons, if there's different weather patterns and suddenly actually you've got a huge crop of one thing and what something you were expecting isn't actually going to be able to be on the menu. But people aren't aware of these changes and what's around. So it's quite a simple solution to look at this capability element. With regards to opportunity, it's mostly the policies and processes and the contracts, and I'm so glad you're here because I'm definitely going to buy your book. She has a book, everyone. But in regards, fantastic, even better. But yes, certainly one of the challenges is if you want somebody to change how they contract like businesses and what you put into guidelines and how you procure these services, normally the people who are in those roles, they don't know what to put in these contracts, and they're not going to go to uni and suddenly learn all about sustainability and all these things. We realized what they needed is paragraphs to put into that document that very clearly says, this is the quality we expect, and if you don't hit that, it doesn't matter what cost it is, you're not getting the job. So it's things like that where people need things that they can place into their existing processes. And also with food trails, one of the other challenges is logistics and delivery hubs. Small businesses cannot, small businesses cannot connect into the existing food system unless it becomes more adaptable. And finally, the motivation. The very same action that we want, people will do the same thing for a very different reason. So you have to connect based on their motivations. It doesn't matter if you're doing it because you want sustainability, they will want to do it because it's what their customers want or that it suits their priorities. And I think it's recognizing that all these different elements across the food system are interdependent. They're all connected, and you've got to see it from other people's perspectives and realize you have got the same vision, but your reason for making the change is very different. But yeah, I recommend using this model as a way to look at challenges.
Thank you so much. And I think we can leave this here for the next question, because I think you're all very successful, must be very resilient being in your place, because I guess you need to do a lot of mobilization and articulation around your office. Do any of you would like to share some failures and lessons learned that you've been doing for so long? And this is a question like coming from someone from civil society that sees in Brazil sometimes very good laws, but very hard to implement. And that's what I said, maybe we should leave this here because it's a lot related to either capability, motivation most of the time, I guess, but the opportunity is there. Would any one of you feel comfortable to share something? Thank you.
Inspired by this slide. So I think I really want to narrow in on the motivation. And so I mentioned last night that Mayor Adams is I'm so fortunate to work for him because he is such a food champion, and I'll put a plug in that he's going to address C40 tomorrow evening, I believe, virtually. And you'll hear a little bit about his food story. But I think in anticipation of his leadership, our schools adopted another meatless day, but called it Vegan Fridays. And so there's two ding words, like not great words there that we now know. because we have brought in behavioral scientists to help our programmatic staff plan menus, right? And so the words matter. Meatless is about something that's being taken away. Nobody, don't take food away from people, and don't tell them that, it's, people want to be empowered. And so the alternative that we got slammed in the media as well, but it was, it was a misstep, and we recovered from that by terming the day plant powered, right? It's powerful, it's showing the power of something. And then I think, as we look through menus, right, labeling, this is a classic example, but instead of like a vegetarian chili or something, calling it a 3-bean chili, but like really using different words that don't label a particular diet or something. So we really fell down early on, but wanted to also find out what does motivate people to eat well and to try new things, and certainly doesn't turn them off.
Amazing. E Aline, aqui que a gente tem a maioria brasileira hoje para...
And Aline, você gost... Aline, we have good programs here in Brazil. You talked about PNAE. What are the biggest challenges that we face in Brazil today so that purchases reach menus and menus become healthier, especially in daycares and schools? What are the biggest challenges in Brazil in this perspective? Well, this team of healthy food, this is an initiative that exists for a long time now. In the City Hall. So we see that the biggest challenge in public procurements is not really to implement healthy food. We can do that. We can purchase good food, but we need to benefit our own producers here in Rio de Janeiro. The first step would be to revise the legal framework, or the master plan, so that we would be able to define what is rural and what is urban here in Rio, so that farmers would be able to register in the City Hall, and they will then participate in the tenders for public food procurement. So we need to formalize their access, the access of the farmers to our tender mechanisms. So we would like to expand the percentage of products that we buy from them. We have reached 40% now, but we see that we tend to buy from rural farmers that do not come from our municipality. This is our biggest challenge now, is to draw our rural farmers closer to us. So the challenge is to talk to secretariats and to revise the measures in the City Hall, right? Right.
Our audience, I would like also to ask you, what is one change that you're really proud of procurement action in your city that made the result and increase equity? We start talking with equity with you, Andrea, but any of you, or maybe 2 or 3 of you, can show equity in action. Please, Diana. Agora em espanhol.
Gracias.
Estamos lá já. Agora já engrenou.
Sí.
As I'm in the realm of the lab of food, we were able to establish the idea that food sovereignty is important. We were able also to develop a program of sensibilization of identities, and we were able also to bring in technical and traditional knowledges on food and nutrition to our debates. And at last, we were able to coordinate our program in the realm of the lab, and we were able to give back to our communities everything that we were discussing. I stressed in my talk the soup kitchens, the communitary kitchens. They are very important for people to come together, to share knowledge, and for people to learn how to eat better. Are you involved also in talking with the family? Yes. Families are facilitators in the community. They open their doors to our activities. The activities are made so that we can reach out to them. So this lab that we developed there are spaces for community development, and this is something that we have seen that worked not only in Guadalajara but also in Mexico as a whole. Então há muitos espaços em que é possível ensinar as famílias a cozinhar em conjunto, né? Isso é muito interessante.
Work very well in our cities. We launched the Food Justice Pledge, which it goes beyond saying that we're having a vision for a better future, but it's about tackling the structural inequalities that are stopping that change from happening. So it's things like now, because our city leaders have signed up to this pledge, we have the clout that when we go to somebody and we say, every single person you work with must pay the real living wage, or you must have it so that you're allowing small businesses to have access, you must preferentially be supporting people to access who historically would not have been able to connect into the system. It means having that political level of buy-in means that those conversations go so much more smoothly with people who are working in an office where they often are just a bit tired and they can't be bothered. But if you go, actually, your boss wants this, they suddenly move a lot more quickly. So I'd say having that backing, it's not necessarily that the political leaders have to say lots all the time, but knowing that this is something they have bought into certainly helps the rest of the system start to change.
A campaign for mobilization, please, of course.
Well, just very quick, because I looked at this picture and it just inspired me to say something that at the Food Trail project, we had what do we call it, twinnings? Learning exchange, where Milan came to visit Copenhagen, and we were talking about replication visit, where we were talking about procurement. Actually, they were going to hear about our procurement practices, but it just showed that we have these schools where we include children in the cooking, in the menu planning. We call them food schools, and then they have time to eat, and they learn about the nutritious food that we have to do, because we also implemented the Eat Lancet way of eating, or trying to do. And while we were talking about how to do procurement and how to involve the kids and how to inspire the kids, some of them want to become chefs or waiters or something, because they say suddenly maybe they're not good at school, but they're good at this, and that, you know, that is so inspiring to see. But what I wanted to see was, this was not only the inspiring thing, hopefully for Milan to see, but Milan also inspired me. I was there to help them and talk about my procurement, but then I got inspired by their procurement too, because they were really doing a good job. And we didn't speak the same language. It was Italian, and I don't speak Italian, but Andrea translated, and it worked really well. So we need to share all these good experiences, and being here just inspired me so much. So I have so much work to do when I come home. So thank you.
Thank you. Andrea would like to share something with us before. And now, if you want to make your questions, I'm going to give after Andrea, the microphone to you. But Andrea, please, just share. Now you get something nice to share with.
Yeah. No, but it was a very, just to follow what Bettina mentioned, so it's the example in which when we were able to have focusing and secure a lot of our time to go in depth in the relation among us, that kind of relation are amazing. So we spent 3 days in Copenhagen, seeing very school, speak each other, 3 days of intense translation, and so on. But it was very funny, because at the end, now we discover everything regarding their activities, and was full in depth. Is a way in which we can inspire each other. So all of our 6 experiences are very diverse in certain way, and also we are tackling the same topic. If we can catch the 5% of each of us, we come we come home with a lot of idea to include, and I mark a lot of this idea that I want to stress, like also what Kate mentioned about the appreciation and the test with kids, and they set a threshold, an average in which if, so it's a very good idea. We doesn't do nothing on this, and so it's good.
Okay, I share the same enthusiasm. I think when we have good practice and learnings. As a matter of fact, the last time I went to Copenhagen in 2019, we started a social gastronomy movement and we did a summit there. And we found people who were facing hunger in Copenhagen. And us Brazilians say, come on, this doesn't exist. But it exists. With the crisis, we found people that were ashamed of sharing that they didn't have money to buy food. So I believe in every place we need to look on how we make sure no one is left behind. And that's the theme of this summit. And that's why I think it's so important when we share best practices. That's the thing that we most need to accelerate. So I think I would like to take 1, 2, 3 questions. We can all make the questions, and then please tell us who are you asking for. Gustavo, please.
Thanks, David.
Please introduce yourself, Gustavo, because you have a very important
I'm Gustavo
work to Brazil.
Portinho from the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation. Congratulations for the panel. I believe the big question we should make is how to guarantee a decent budget for food procurement in countries such as Brazil and Argentina. For you guys from abroad to have an idea, the National School Feeding Program had the last budget increase above the inflation in Brazil in 2010. And today, the current budget for elementary school students and high school students per day, per student, is just 36 cents in Brazilian currency. If you talk in American currency, it's less than a 5 cents coin. So how come a city from the Rio Brazil, from the north or northeast region, can guarantee a decent school feeding with just 5 cents per day per student? This is the big question.
Thank you, Gustavo. And is there anyone, or is to all panel?
Yeah, for
everyone.
For everyone.
Okay. Do you have a microphone? Please introduce yourself. Just
sure. I'm Bent Ekberg Mikkelsen, University of Copenhagen. Really, thanks for some really inspiring talks. My question is to follow in the line what you said, Bettina. I very much agree. But normally, about this learning aspect, normally when we speak about procurement, we speak about something that you buy some food which is very tangible. But increasingly, we are also speaking about that food at school is not only about satisfying nutritional needs, your bodily needs, but it's also your intellectual needs, right? To learn about food systems. So how can we, that's a question to the other panelists, maybe not you, Bettina, but the other, I really like your idea. How can we integrate this? I mean, sometimes we call it a whole school food approach, or open school, or from canteen to classroom and back. But from your stomach to your mind, how can we move further along down that avenue and integrate buying of these kind of learning services? I mean, of course you can ask the teachers, but you could actually also ask some providers, can you deliver something for your mind, not only...
Is it how you make sure the menu is healthy?
No, we trust, that's not my question. We trust that menus are healthy, but we argue that we don't only want to feed kids, we also want to take the literacy about food systems, to understand food systems, into the classroom. And how can we ask some suppliers, some providers to do that? That's my question.
How we teach food systems at school. Exactly. Okay, one more. That's a very good question, I must say.
Olá, boa tarde. Eu me chamo Alessandra.
Good afternoon. I'm Alessandra Pereira. I'm a teacher in the nutrition school in Unirio. I've been working with school nutrition since 2007, and indeed here in school food we have very solid regulations since 2009 covering the food purchase from family farmer, the advancement that we have had in our system following the food guidelines. So Resolution 6, besides strengthening the purchase of family agricultural products, it raises some advanced issues regarding nutrition. For instance, we have banned for 3-year-old children food with sugar, added sugar, so it's banned. But it is true that this has been debated a lot in the municipalities, thinking about such a large country, different food habits and different cultures. But what we think that is even more difficult, it's not even the children or the child accepting the proposed changes, but those that work in the food system, the teacher, the dietitian, and the managers of the school. So we have to motivate the people that are working in the preparation, in the cooking, and the production even before thinking about the student. The student is eager to change. They like changes, but we have the barrier that comes before that.
What about the teaching to get them the good cooks?
Yeah.
Motivating cooks.
Yeah. So just very shortly, we had made a procurement for professionals that can help teach the cook to include children, but also to cook differently. So how to use more lentil and grains and cook from scratch and reduce food waste, of course. It's one of the things that also gives us the budget to cook more organically. So this is some of the things. And then just to address Ben's very shortly, is that in the new procurement I made in another project called Coach, we made also demand for buying a bag of dirt and tomato or potatoes that can grow in this, so to bring the kids to take it home, and then the teachers, they can teach about how does this potato become into 10 and how does it grow, and the food literacy about potatoes, when did it start and when did it end, and is it all around the world? Yes, it is. So that would, like one of these things, and that's through food trades we actually implemented, and we will follow up how many kids will use this and things like that. So you can use procurement as a tool, because if I did not know about this, and how should I, because I'm just a lawyer and economics. So, but somebody told me that we have to do this. So I thinking, okay, how can we do this? And then put it into the procurement. And now we can offer the teachers this tool and a toolkit where we put all the learnings in. And this is done through the food trail. So we'll share it with everybody how to do this. So, and then they can share with their procurement officers. So hopefully we can spread this faster by being united in global forums like this.
And sorry if I can jump in. And another part of the question is that in Copenhagen, they are doing a booklet that they spread with all the staff that is new hired. And so to motivate them, because why the municipality are doing that topic and so on. And it's a very good tool to try to start in the first stage of a new staff, of a new employees, to know why the municipality are doing all of that activities.
And can you share something about what Gustavo mentioned about how to make sure we can deliver all this excellent purchasing and buying, but with a very limited budget? Does any one of you can share some insights with Gustavo?
Yeah.
Because you had some kind of like challenge on that with almost like 30% of the cities.
It's a topic of internal dynamic of powers, because of course all the time, all the year, the budget department asks you need to spend less than the year before, the first rules. And all the time we try, but there's this topic and so other topic and so. So more or less, just to be transparent, we secure a part of the budget by putting in more than we need, and so all the time we are able to do this. But now we are fixing a very big problem, because due to the increasing of the cost of the energy and so on, our cost of production are increasing of plus 17%, and we are fixing the cost of the family, fixing the cost and so on. And so when we introduce the more organic purchasing, we less buy meat. The meat is more expensive than the organic one, so we try to balance everything. As well, now we are seeing a decreasement of the number of kids in Milan, of children in Milan, and so with a new cost, we are able to, so it's all the time is a topic of balance. Otherwise, you need to say, okay, I need 10 millions more, but you need a politician that go in the internal negotiation, say, okay, well, we want 10 millions more because we want to do a new cooking center, and so on. It's a topic of power.
I would add to that to say, of course, right now, globally, with inflation, it's impossible, right? Because your existing budgets are not getting as far as they were. But I will give a proof point. In our public hospital system, we have just introduced plant-based defaults, and we are saving many, many millions of dollars a year because beans and plant-based proteins are much less expensive than meats. But I want to, this is again your slide here, behavioral science. You know, we have, I think, 9,000 school food service workers in the city of New York, and they're heroes, right? And we have certainly over the course of the pandemic treated them like heroes. And so part of that was inviting one from each district, so like 36 different school food service workers to City Hall to be addressed by the mayor and their boss. And also, and this was just recently, you know, they're doing more. This Plant-Based Fridays, they're cooking with recipes that they've never done before. Yes, they're being trained, but you know, that doesn't sound good. It's like, you know, but what our mayor did, he's like, I want to talk to everyone. And he was on Zoom in his car. We got every school to at least hold a phone up for at 7:30 in the morning for the mayor to say, you guys are amazing. You are feeding our futures. You are feeding our kids. And that motivation, just the words that the mayor and the chancellor joined at the same time, he's head of the school system, was recognition that they have not had, some of them who've worked in the system for 30 years have ever had that. So I think, you know, this doesn't have to, we don't have to overthink this. Appreciation for what people do goes a long way. And then I will just say to Ben's comment, you know, it's procurement for a service, and it's a service of nutrition education, and it could be for training. But I think, you know, this will go into a rabbit hole that I'm not going to go into, but every state, country, region has different education requirements. And so again, it's a tactical decision about how you address food systems. And I would just challenge, I don't know if it's from the vendors because they're just selling their product 90% of the time. But, you know, we're fortunate in New York to have a huge, you know, nutrition education. We debate the definition of it. We take it so seriously, right? So I just think that integrating from experiential learning, not necessarily just do you understand how to read a label, right? But like really understanding is something that we also have to motivate teachers and principals to want to do, because it shouldn't be the responsibility of the kitchen staff.
So I think I could stay here, like I have so many new questions here, but I think we are very late on time and we have other sessions going on. But I wouldn't leave this room without giving you back 30 seconds up to a minute for something you want to share with our audience, or something you learned here about your work here, because it's so unique and it's so diverse. And congratulations for all you've been doing, because it's very important for us to find the right people in the government offices to trust. And I feel trust here in all your work. So I would like to start with you, Andrea, and something you learned, something you'd like to share with all of us to share this enthusiasm.
Yeah. So what Kate mentioned a few seconds ago, I think that is a very good idea. So to try to motivate, to select in a framework, so one per each municipalities or neighborhoods, and invite the cooker and the teacher to speak with politicians. I think that's a very good idea. And I want to share also a reaction from what was mentioned. We are thinking to include some nudging activities inside the physical space of the canteens. Otherwise, our white space, so not a good space where you perceive a lot of feedback from the food. And so with food trails, we want to do 3 types of nudging, of the color of the wall, framework of the table, and so on. And also maybe includes plants, but it's not so easy, includes a plants for the health issues inside canteens, and to monitor the appreciation of the food by children. And so then try to see if it works and to scaling up in all the 600 of canteens. Other activities on education, booklet and so on, but working on nudging maybe can be another approach to motivate the kids to eat plant-based food.
Diana? Thank you, Andrea.
Coincido, creo.
One of the experiences that has helped us is that we have connected to other experiences and to share them with others. We had the participation of universities, and the universities came to us to share new models of logistics, distribution of food, capacity building, training. So this collaboration with universities was very important for us in the City Hall.
And I also thinking about that our Daegu City is provide some food to the school students. I believe that the government has this, if the government does not have the money, the budget, it couldn't do that. It couldn't do it. So I think that the food system that cannot go lonely. If the whole system, whole the society go together to make money in the company, not food company. All companies give a tax to the government. So government gathered a few from tax. So you know, in Korea, maybe 50 years ago, we couldn't. We thought about the Korea can survive, because of the war, Korean War. But now, Korea has a big power, I think. So we have to work together. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Aline? Algo que te inspirou?
What has inspired you, Aline? I talked to you about 2 programs, one of school feeding, on the national program of school feeding, and the service of municipal inspection. Those 2 programs are very inspiring. What we try to do is work with children very closely to them, so that they will understand how they get healthy food, and so that they take this information to their families to transform the idea that the families have on food. So everything that we do with the children in the schools is we foster them to go back home and to try to make all these preparations with their parents. And another aspect that I would like to stress is that we had many problems when we saw the products that were commercialized and that were bought by the City Hall. Once we were able to reach rural farmers from other municipalities, we were able to bring in a better food for our municipality. So we are developing betterments in the service. The service was implemented in the year 2019. And we are still trying to reach out to rural farmers. So we're still trying to register them. This is very important. If we get them on board, if we reach them, we will be able to have them participating in selling products. And this means a very important aspect of social inclusion for them.
Affirmation of, we are all making great progress and experiencing some of the same growth opportunities, and it just feels empowering to be able to share all of that and get some of these great ideas together.
Thank you. Bettina?
And I'm down the same line, actually, because I leave, not tomorrow, but I will go, when I go home in Denmark, I'm filled with hope, because we all do so much great progress, I think, and it is inspiring. Because sometimes when you're standing alone looking at the mountain, it can feel a long way to go. But no, we are on the track, we're on the right way. And I want to say that in Copenhagen, being a kitchen chef is a very high valued job. They are appreciated greatly. And once a year we cook a meal for them, serve them, it's a vegetarian meal, and they will be there, the mayor will come and talk shortly with them and say, wow, amazing, and they share experiences. This is also a way to do it, like one big meal, but we're not as many as you in New York, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but I've really appreciated the really concrete examples and the practical things that, like, yes, that, and like now it just gives you the tools to go to those people who are going, oh, I don't know how to do it. We can say, well, there's all these options, which one would work for you? So that's incredibly valuable. And I think the one thing that people could take away is the model that I shared. If you use that to understand what drives people in their own environments, whether it's a teacher that says they haven't got time to teach about food systems, or whether it's a caterer who says they haven't got time to prep food, I think using that perspective and then connecting to what their priorities are is a much better angle to come at things. But it's a useful way to understand that they've got lots of pressures and lots of conflicting priorities. And when you understand it from that perspective, it's no longer a battle. You're working with them to bring a solution for them and for you.
Well, first of all, congratulations again. The word that came into my mind and my spirit now was interdependence. All this work depends on the other. When you mentioned the human-centered approach, the geography of it, the lessons learning, everything that you're doing with the food producers, Aline, like making sure that we don't buy from outside, we buy from here, all of you. And I hope you have more spaces like this to have your own conference, because I think that's the way we can change things. It's through law, it's through procurement in the end. But I think it's very inspiring to see an Agenda 2030. I want to congratulate and thank it for inviting all of us to be here, for inviting me. I tell everyone should know what it is doing. They've been at the UN, been at many places fostering plant-based actually a long time, and when you see that they are serving New York, I'm sure there is a pinch of it forum there. So thank you everyone, have a great conference. And let's take a picture here together. Come to the picture. And the water is here, I just don't wanna